All right, we want to turn now to the budget. The House Republicans taking a bit of a victory lap this week.
On this vote, the yeas are 215, the nays are 214, with one answering present. The bill is passed.
President Trump touting what he calls the big, beautiful bill. The multi-trillion-dollar budget bill is now in the hands of the U.S. Senate, but it could face a really rough road there. GOP budget plan expands existing tax cuts, cuts spending on several government programs, increases spending on defense and immigration, also increases the federal deficit. Democrats are calling it the big bad bill. They say it's an assault on the economy. What are the tax implications of all of this? Daniel Bunn joins us again this morning. He's the president and CEO of the Tax Foundation. So there's been a lot of back and forth between the Republicans and the Democrats. It's been a fire hose of information. Let's just start with the tax portion of this, because had this bill not been passed, people's taxes would have gone up. What does it do for the average person with their own taxes?
Yeah, like you said, if this bill didn't pass, 62% of American households would see higher taxes on the order of some of them roughly $2,000 a year. So this tax bill avoids that, and it cuts taxes further. Now, the way I look at things from Tax Foundation's perspective, we focus on principled pro-growth tax policy. And there's a lot of things in this bill that are neither principled nor pro-growth, but in general, this achieves the kind of minimum viable product of avoiding a massive tax hike.
All right, so let's break that down. What do you see as pro-growth? What should this bill be doing?
The main thing it should be doing in the context of pro-growth is making permanent changes to business investment incentives. What we see in this bill is temporary adjustments. So businesses that are expanding factories or thinking about new structures, those incentives are only there for a few years. Permanent incentives allow businesses to plan for the long term rather than just say, well, let's fit something in this specific time window.
So the thought here is if you're a corporation, you want to build a factory, you want to know whatever you have in the bill is going to be there 10 years from now, not just 3 years from now.
Yeah, so that you're able to plan not just for, okay, well, we're going to do this for the next 4 years, speed some things up, but really adjust investment plans in the future.
One big part of this that was at the center of the debate was what's called SALT, state and local taxes. There was back and forth on this. New York's delegation was very upset about what they saw. How are state and local taxes dealt with in the big, beautiful bill?
So the big, beautiful bill, as it's called, increases the cap on state and local taxes from $10,000 up to $40,000, and it makes some other adjustments with some phase-outs and some clawbacks, but it's a dramatic increase in the cost of that provision.
And doesn't that penalize people who live in high-tax states?
It does not when you look at the context in which that change was brought in back in 2017. So there was some give and take that for the vast majority of taxpayers, they were better off after the cap was put in place. But a lot of the lawmakers in New York are only focused on the cap and not on some of the other penalizing factors that were taken away.
One of the big concerns about this as well has been what's going on with Medicare. The fact that they believe that even though the president said he wants to cut out waste, fraud, and abuse, that these are going to be massive cuts across our health care system. From a tax perspective, is there an angle on this? Because a lot of people are worried that they're going to be losing some of their access to their health care.
So there is a tax perspective, but it's different than the health care provision. There's a lot of changes in here that will impact state budgets, and that will impact state policy decisions on their taxes. So one of the challenges that we're thinking about is how this flows through to hopefully have better state tax policy rather than worse, but there will be some budget holes that will have to be closed.
You know, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is going to be here at 9 o'clock to talk to Shannon Bream. Had to deal with some House Republicans who were saying, look, if you're going to lower the amount of revenue the United States Treasury is going to get in, and you're also going to increase some spending on things like defense and homeland security, it creates an imbalance. How is the tax revenues going to affect some of this extra spending that's in the bill?
Yeah, so this does not improve the deficit relative to current law. The challenge for lawmakers is that there's always going to be somebody who's interested in cutting taxes and somebody interested in increasing spending. And there's just not the math right now, legislative math, that supports a more fiscally responsible direction. which I would prefer, honestly.
Daniel Bunn is the president and the CEO of the Tax Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us here on this
Thank you for having me.
Memorial Day weekend. Daniel, thank you.